So one of the things that I want to ask you is, have you been able to identify like the root cause of your addictive behavior?
Yes, because I would like, everybody sort of thought my mother's accident in 2004 was the cause of my drinking. But in hindsight, I've always had some sort of problem. I've suffered an eating disorder. I've suffered, whether it be money, whether it be my looks, whether it be, I've always had some sort of behavior that was addictive. I've always had some sort of screw sort of loose, I guess, so to speak.
Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Cathy D. Smith. I'm a substance abuse counselor. Today we're going to be talking with Katie Brown. She has been in recovery for 29 months. She has an extensive history with addictive behaviors, but thankfully, she has made it on the other side. Her life is prospering. Things are changing for her. She is a woman that she has never known herself to be. So tune in, listen up, make comments, let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know about your experience with addiction so that we all can help each other in this recovery process. All right, so Katie, I'm so grateful to be able to have this conversation with you today. I am so excited about where you are today. I knew you a couple of years back, and you were not the person that you are today. So I'm excited to be able to have this conversation about your journey. One of the first things that I want to kind of ask you about is at one point in your life, you were in active addiction.
Yes, correct. I was a full-blown alcoholic, woke up with it, went to bed with it, would have serious withdrawals if I didn't have it. Felt like that was my beginning of my day, end of my day, middle of my day, every part of my day. I felt like my life didn't exist unless I had alcohol. And essentially, it was living hell without it because the withdrawals were even so severe. My own father didn't like to watch me have to go through the withdrawals of it. So it was horrible. It was, but you know, even though I'd have to go through the withdrawals, to numb what I was feeling was better than with the alcohol than it was to have felt what I needed to feel.
And how long did you struggle with that, Katie?
I didn't start drinking heavily until I was older in life, until my mid-30s. It got to be a really big problem for me in my 40s, especially my late 40s. Probably from 45 until 48, it was very bad. I was hospitalized over 50-something times with pancreatitis, told to quit drinking in 2014. Have been jailed twice for DUIs. Just never could stop. Just never felt like, you know, and I've had this thing my entire life of where I just wanted to feel like I was worth it. I wanted somebody to fight for me and just wanted to feel like I was worthy. And finally, I had this realization. Fortunately, I had it about 2.5 years ago when I was, another person that was an alcoholic came face to face with me. And I realized there and then that God had been fighting for me this entire time. He was telling me, Katie, I'm telling you you're enough, you're worth it. And, you know, when can you see me for the love that I've been giving you? You know, out of all the times I've driven drunk and the times I've nearly died because of alcohol poisoning, and the fact that I haven't, and the fact that he's always been there to remind me that I am good enough and I am worthy. And but that took me to the age of 49 before I finally put God first and myself second. I never have, everything I've ever done in my life is because for everyone else. I've never thought I was worth it. So that was very difficult for me.
So now throughout this process, I think you're 29 months, almost 29 months clean.
Correct. The 23rd of this month, I'll have 29 months, and that'll be December 23rd. And today's December 20th.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is worth celebrating, for real. So one of the things that I want to ask you is, have you been able to identify like the root cause of your addictive behavior?
Yes, because I would like everybody sort of thought my mother's accident in 2004 was the cause of my drinking. But in hindsight, I've always had some sort of problem. I've suffered an eating disorder. I've suffered, whether it be money, whether it be my looks, whether it be, I've always had some sort of behavior that was addictive. I've always had some sort of screw sort of loose, I guess, so to speak. And for me, I was able to recognize by finally being humble and by finally opening up to the fact of being honest with myself, with others. Because until I was completely honest with others, I was not able to meet wonderful people like you and certain others that have been integral in my life for the past 29 months. And that has been for me to finally think that I could be honest with people and be accepted by people by being honest, and to be able to get the support I have by being honest and that broken down, and to think that it all essentially started because I always felt like I had to be something else, and whether it be food, whether it be alcohol, whether it be something, there was always that gene. And I do feel that alcohol is a genetic. I do believe it's a disease, and I have that genetic disposition on both sides of my family. But even though a lot of people think that it's a choice, and yes, it was a choice. At first, it started off a choice, but then after my body became dependent on it, the alcohol took over, and that's when I became where I had to have it. But for me, it was just always that part of feeling broken and never knowing and never being vulnerable enough to ask for help and being willing to listen to people that knew more. And I obviously like to talk. And so for me, it was about being quiet and listening and letting people in and letting people see that I was worth, that they could help me. Mm-hmm. But I had to be willing to listen to them. And I also had to be willing to trust that they wanted what was best for me.
Yeah, that's all of the things that you just said are amazing things. I know with my work in the field as a substance abuse counselor, we know that the addictive behavior that we display is just a byproduct of what's happening on the inside of us, particularly what's happening in our hearts.
Correct.
And so we know that if we can clean that heart up, then it will change our behaviors. So I heard you say that having a low self-esteem, low self-worth was primarily the thing that was behind your addictive behavior.
Correct.
And I love calling it addictive behavior because I don't like to see women as addicts. I see women who may have addictive behaviors, but not necessarily just me personally. Because if you if you call yourself an addict, it almost implies hopelessness.
Correct.
I do understand that it can be a genetic disposition, but even with that genetic disposition, there's a possibility that you can recover.
Exactly.
And that's good news.
Yes. I mean, there's always hope. I mean, there's more hope than we realize, and there are more people that struggle with addiction and addictive behaviors than we like to realize. And because I felt like I was so closed off and I was different and I was the only person that struggled with this, I didn't want to open myself up. But by me being open to sharing with people that I'm a recovering alcoholic, then that has truly helped to give me hope, because that I'm able to connect with others in ways I never dreamt I could connect with others. And so again, that goes back to being honest and being vulnerable and being willing to be humble and say, I'm flawed. But the more I've learned, Jesus was a homeless person, and at the foot of the cross, we're all on the same level. He doesn't pick and choose and say, you have an addiction, you have cancer, you have this, you're homeless, you have this. We all are at the same level. We're all broken in some way, shape, or form, and it's just about how we are and the people we put in our life, and you being one of those people. I mean, I could always count on you to be somebody that I could call, and you would always lend me and remind me that my worth was in God, and that was always something that I could always rely on with you. But I think women, we beat up on ourselves hard. We're hard on ourselves anyway, and social media is our worst critic, and we get our props from our likes on Facebook or something like that. That's how we get our worth. And for me, when I look in the mirror, I see the flaws, but it's okay because I know that I'm a child of God and I'm loved, and there is hope today in my life. I mean, I don't have a bunch of money in the bank. I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm healthy and I'm happy and I'm loved. And
So what is the difference between the mindset you had in active addiction and the mindset that you have in active recovery?
The mindset I had in active addiction was I would do any means necessary to get my alcohol, and that was risk my children's lives, risk innocent people's lives. My choice now to stay sober is that I will stay sober above all else, is because I don't ever want to go back to being that broken again. I want to keep the hope. I want to keep the light. I want to keep reaching for the stars. I want to keep knowing that as long as I'm trying and as long as I'm being humble about how I'm and going about it and asking for help. And that's my big thing, is that I used to be afraid to ask for help. But now that I know that I can ask for help and I know I'm not going to be judged, and I know that my sobriety means sometimes I might not like it, but I have to pick up that telephone and I have to call and I have to reach out. So whereas I used to be willing to go to any lengths to get my alcohol, I'm willing to go to any lengths to keep my sobriety.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I think the thing about recovery is that it takes a lot of courage. It takes honesty. And if you want to recover in a way that's sustainable, that's long term, like you're gonna have to take some real hardcore looks at yourself to see what's really going. And it's an ongoing process. Like recovery is a day-to-day, never-ending process.
It is.
And so you have to commit to that in order to see yourself become the person who God has declared you to be.
Right.
And that declaration was made a long time ago.
Yes.
And it has not changed. No matter what you've done, that declaration is still on your life.
No. And that's something else I've also realized, is that I've had still some struggles and I've had some things that I've had to face on this sober journey that have not been easy. But I've learned steps through the people that I have in my life, you being one of them, that have taught me the tools to use that I can rely on, and I learned how to healthy process stuff. I don't process things unhealthy. I don't build resentments. I consider my motives when I do think something, and I'm able to weigh out the options of how I'm really thinking and why I'm really thinking it, but I'm also able to, and I give it to God a lot, and I pray a great deal about it, and I read my devotionals, and I look to things, and I do where I used to think the phone was a heavy object to pick up, it doesn't bother me to pick up a phone if I'm having one bad thought, and it takes just one person to remind me that it's okay to think that way, but that's not the way you need to be thinking. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does, because we will have thoughts that are challenging. We will have thoughts that are not true. But the main thing is we don't want to waddle in that thought. We want to feel the thought, because that's the thing that's important in recovery. Like, we have to allow ourselves to feel discomfort, like emotionally, spiritually, get uncomfortable. Let ourselves feel that. Process grief, feel the pain, feel what it feels like to be unworthy. Because the thing about feeling unworthy is that it is unnatural. God did not create us to feel unworthy. And because of that, it's going to hurt.
Exactly.
And that pain serves a purpose. It says, this is hurting you because this is not what God says about you.
Exactly.
And so it's going to be uncomfortable. We need to feel it. And we need to keep moving. We need to keep moving, because what happens a lot of times is that people get in a pain, some sort of trauma, and they get stuck there. And they create this vicious cycle, this numbing cycle. I feel bad, so I got to have a drink. I feel bad, so I need to take some, a pill or something, so this feeling can go away. Or I may overeat. I might eat a whole pound cake or whatever the case may be, because we don't want to feel it. But the danger in that is that when we don't let ourselves feel, it's impossible for us to grow.
Exactly. And that's where I think I had become so sedentary. And I also knew I had been to several treatment centers. I had been to jail. I felt like I knew the talk and I knew how to spin it, and I finally was faced with some people that knew that I was lying. Mm-hmm. And you were one of those people. And, you let me lie to myself a little while, and then you were like, no, I'm not going to let you do that, because you called me out real quickly, but you did it in a matter of fact, and you did it in a kind way, but you did it with support, and, and that was something that I needed. Mm-hmm. And because, I used to think I could sell snow to an Eskimo. I used to think I could lie like the best of them. I was the worst liar in the whole wide world. But, if I thought I was selling it, then I was okay with it. But, the process of lying is a taxing one, and it's a difficult one, and it's exhausting to be lying. I mean, it's so much easier just to tell the truth, and you realize that you can get so much further with people when you are honest, and people are much more receptive to help you if you're honest. But if you try and come up with this fantastic lie, and then they find out that this fantastic lie that you've taken time to create is nothing but a lie, then that's going to come back and bite you even worse. So I've just found...
Yeah, and ultimately you're hurting yourself.
Exactly. In the long run, I'm not hurting anybody or damaging anybody but myself.
That's right.
And so for me, I just finally realized that honesty is always the best policy. And all those cliches you hear are actually true. So,
Yeah, and I know for me, like, I really love working with women who are in early recovery, because it's amazing to see the change in mindset. We get a chance to see women who are just downtrodden, head is in between their knees, they can't even look at you. They start off like that, and they start getting a taste of the truth of what God says about them, and they start believing it. Like, everything just brightens up. You know what I mean? Their outlook on life, their hopefulness, everything just changed. And all the tragedy that they've experienced before, all of that is turned around. Relationships are rekindled. It's just hope again. Like, I love, love, love that process in myself first and foremost, and then seeing that happen in other women. Right. It's always exciting.
And that is something I do admire in you, that you are you're inspirational in the fact that you are very real. And it's very nice to me to find somebody that's real, that I don't feel like I have to work towards. That you're just who you are, and you say who you are. And I respect that a great deal about you. And you're just very matter of fact, but you do it with a caring heart, and you do it with the knowledge. And that's one thing you do have also, is you're very knowledgeable with what you teach. And I appreciate that. And, and you don't ever make somebody feel like you're too good to help them. You're just real. And that's something that I like, and I find very refreshing with you.
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that, Katie, because really I just want for other women what I want for myself.
Exactly.
And I know that, because I give myself compassion as I'm learning, as I'm undoing the lies that were told to me, as I'm undoing conditioning. So I'm compassionate towards myself, and so I try to extend that to other women, because I feel like we can heal when we know that we're supported.
Yes.
So.
And that's true. And I think that women, we're far too hard on ourselves, and we're far too hard on other women. Instead of tearing each other down, we should build each other up. And I really would like to see, and I love that you try to do that. You're a very strong person. You're a very strong woman. You've gotten where you are in your life because of who you are and because of your determination. And that's very admirable. And I respect that. And I think that a lot of women who don't want to take a risk and feel like they might need a man, or they might need money, or they might need this, and be scared to take a risk. You've shown everybody that it's okay to take a risk, and you can land on your feet. It's not going to take, you got to do some hard work, and you got to do some truth seeking, but you got to do, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And you're definitely a product of that, and I respect and admire that about you immensely.
Yeah, thank you again, Katie. It's important, because I know that in the building process, we're gonna fall. Like, you can't avoid that. You're gonna stumble, you're gonna fall, but thank thankfully, God gives us an opportunity to get back up also.
Yep, he does.
So that opportunity is there, and so that's what I put my trust in and my faith in, the fact that if I fall, I can get back up.
Exactly.
And so I try to encourage that same principle in the women that I come in contact with. You know, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fall in the building process. And I always use this analogy. I love it. I always talk about like how, you know, you have a son, right?
I have 2 sons.
Yeah. So did you ever teach him to ride a bike?
Yes.
Yeah. So remember how, you know, when they start trying to ride the bike, they may fall off. Like, what we tell them, get back up. Get back up and try again. That's the same thing with our spiritual growth and development. We're gonna make some mistakes. We ain't gonna always get it right, but we gotta get back up and commit to that process.
Exactly.
That's the only way we're gonna see ourselves realize and actualize, you know, the bigness of who God has made us to be.
Exactly, and to realize that it's okay to fall down, and it's okay. That's natural to fall down, but it's okay to get back up and to dust yourself off and say, "I'm gonna try again." And if you don't succeed again, then you get back up and you try again. You just keep trying. And another thing that I want to say, that even though I've you know I talk a lot, but I want to say that I've known you now for my entire sobriety, and consistency is a big thing with you. And consistency. You've always been who you say you are, and that's something that I like to, and I look forward, that I like to find in somebody that I'm going to talk to as a counselor, because somebody that can be consistent in what they tell you and stick to it, then that shows a lot to me.
Well, thank you so much, Katie,
Yes.
for having this conversation with me. I'm so proud of you. You've come too far. Do not turn around. There's nothing back there in your past. You don't need anything back there. Everything is in front of you. You have me. Call me anytime. I love you, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, and I love you too, Kathy.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right.